This story is brought to you by States of Heart, where real-life dramas turn into powerful lessons and unforgettable moments. HOA Karen slapped my daughter after she refused to date her son, so I made her pay. The story begins in a quiet suburban neighborhood where everything looked peaceful from the outside, but, like many HOA-controlled communities, drama was always waiting just below the surface. My daughter, Emily, had just turned 17, smart, confident, and the kind of person who treated everyone with kindness. We had moved to this community only a year ago, thinking it would be a good, safe place for her as she finished high school. Little did we know, standing between us and that peace was someone people warned us about from the day we arrived, Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, a woman who believed she owned every inch of the neighborhood. Karen had a son, Derek, a boy around Emily's age. In the beginning, we didn't think much of him. He seemed awkward but polite, and we assumed he was harmless. But it didn't take long for Derek to develop a strange obsession with Emily. He kept showing up near our house, walking by repeatedly, pretending to bump into her in the neighborhood, and sending messages she didn't ask for. Emily tried to be polite, brushing him off gently, but Derek mistook her kindness for encouragement. One day, after school, Derek cornered her near the mailbox and asked her to go out with him. Emily politely declined, explaining that she wasn't interested. Instead of taking the rejection maturely, Derek became angry, slamming his fist against the mailbox and shouting that she should feel lucky he even asked. Emily came home shaken, and when she told me everything, I knew something wasn't right. We decided to avoid conflict and hope Derek would move on. But the next morning, Karen herself showed up at our doorstep. Without greeting us, she barged into our conversation and started talking as if her son was some kind of celebrity. She said, "My Derek has taken a liking to your daughter. You should feel honored. Most girls in this neighborhood wish they had a chance with him." I calmly explained that Emily didn't want to date anyone, and Derek needed to respect her boundaries. Karen's expression twisted instantly. She stepped closer and said in a threatening tone, "Your daughter better change her mind. My son doesn't handle rejection well." That was the first red flag, but not the last. Over the next few weeks, Karen became increasingly hostile. She started reporting us to the HOA for ridiculous violations: grass too tall, trash can visible from the street, car parked slightly over the line. Each report was clearly targeted harassment. Emily tried to stay strong, but I could see the stress wearing her down. Then came the day everything changed. It was a hot summer afternoon. Emily had gone for a walk around the block to clear her head. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard frantic knocking at the door. Our neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, was standing there, breathless, telling me there had been an incident. My heart dropped. She told me that she saw Karen and Emily arguing near the community park. Karen was yelling at her, demanding she apologize to Derek for embarrassing him. Emily stood her ground and repeated that she didn't owe Derek anything. And then, without warning, Karen slapped her. Not a small slap. A full, loud, enraged slap across the face. Emily stumbled back, shocked and in tears. Mrs. Peterson screamed at Karen while other neighbors rushed over. Derek was standing nearby, watching, not saying a word, just smirking. The moment I heard this, I raced to the park. When I arrived, Emily was sitting in the grass, crying, her cheek red and swollen. I felt something inside me snap. There was no way I was letting this go. Karen saw me walking toward them and suddenly tried to flip the story, saying Emily attacked her and she acted in self-defense. But there were witnesses, many witnesses, and they all backed Emily. People were tired of Karen's behavior. For years she bullied everyone using her HOA position, but this time, she had crossed a line she couldn't step back from. I called the police right there. Karen's face went pale as officers arrived. She started shouting that the HOA rules protected her, that I couldn't prove anything, that the witnesses were lying. Derek tried to run, but another neighbor stopped him, explaining he had encouraged the confrontation. The officers separated everyone and began taking statements. Emily, still shaking, told them everything. Karen kept yelling until one officer warned her she would be handcuffed for obstruction if she didn't calm down. The witnesses all told the same story: Karen slapped a minor because she didn't want to date her son. Within minutes, Karen was placed under arrest for assaulting a minor. As she was being escorted to the police car, she shouted at me, "You're ruining my life. I'll destroy you for this." But those threats didn't scare me anymore. She had already destroyed herself. However, the drama didn't end there. The HOA board, controlled heavily by Karen and her friends, tried defending her. They sent an official notice to the neighborhood claiming Karen was temporarily suspended but would return as president once this misunderstanding was resolved. That was the last straw for the entire community. People had suffered enough. We organized a neighborhood-wide meeting. More than 50 residents showed up, far more than the HOA expected. One by one, people stood up and shared their own stories about Karen's abuse of power, fines issued based on lies, threats, discrimination, harassment, and intimidation. We demanded a vote to remove her permanently. The board tried resisting, but legally, if enough homeowners demanded a vote, they had no choice. The motion passed with an overwhelming majority. Karen was not only removed as HOA president, she was banned from holding any position ever again. And then the legal consequences came. The assault charge was serious. Karen had no way out, not with so many witnesses and a minor involved. In court, she tried playing the victim, claiming she was protecting her son, but the judge didn't buy it. She was sentenced to community service, mandatory anger management, and fined a significant amount. On top of that, we filed a civil lawsuit for emotional distress and medical expenses. We won. Karen had to pay thousands of dollars. Her reputation in the neighborhood was ruined. People avoided her house. Derek switched schools because the shame was too much for him to face. Their once powerful influence disappeared overnight. As for Emily, the experience was traumatic, but she grew stronger because of it. She learned how to stand up for herself and how important it is to speak out when someone crosses boundaries. We spent months helping her heal emotionally, and slowly, the fear turned into resilience. The best part came a year later when the new HOA, run by reasonable people, introduced a new rule: no board member could abuse authority or harass residents without immediate removal. They also added community programs to keep neighbors connected so situations like this would never happen again. One afternoon, Emily and I walked past the same park where the incident happened. She stopped, took a deep breath, and said, "I'm okay now, Dad." She didn't win. And in that moment, I realized that despite everything, we came out stronger. Karen tried to break us, but instead, she destroyed her own kingdom of control. Today, when new families move in, they hear the story of the HOA tyrant who crossed the line and paid the price. And they hear about the girl who stood up for herself and the father who refused to stay silent. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come quietly, it comes with witnesses, courage, and a community finally ready to say enough. And that is how Karen learned the hard way that you can't force someone to like you, you can't control the neighborhood, and you definitely can't lay a hand on someone else's child. In the end, she paid for everything she did. And we finally got the peace we deserved. This was another story from States of Heart, where every heartbeat carries a story worth telling.